The rain tasted of rust and regret. Detective Miles Corbin wiped his fedora, the gesture futile against the persistent drizzle that clung to everything in Harrow Creek, Ohio. It had been raining for 3 days straight, a mournful soundtrack to a case that felt colder than the November wind, a case that smelled wrong. The victim, Elias Thorne, was a collector. Rare books, antique clocks, forgotten relics. Thorne amassed them all in his sprawling Victorian mansion overlooking the town. He was found this morning, slumped over a mahogany desk, a single crimson stain blooming on his crisp linen shirt. No forced entry, no signs of a struggle, just Thorne and the peculiar artifact clutched in his hand, a small obsidian pyramid, intricately carved with symbols Corbin didn't recognize, but that hummed with an unsettling energy. "Anything, Peterson?" Corbin asked, his voice raspy. Peterson, the young officer assigned to the case, shook his head, his face pale in the dim light filtering through the rain-streaked windows. "Just the usual, detective. Pence lifted. Sent to the lab. The housekeeper, Mrs. Abernathy, is being questioned. She says Mr. Thorne was acting agitated the last few days." Agitated was an understatement. The house itself felt wrong. It wasn't just the rain seeping into the ancient plaster, the musty smell of decay, the portraits of stern-faced ancestors that seemed to follow you with their eyes. It was something deeper, a palpable weight in the air, a sense of watchful presence. Mrs. Abernathy, a frail woman with trembling hands and watery eyes, had described Thorne's recent behavior as fixated. He'd become increasingly withdrawn, spending hours in his study, poring over ancient texts and diagrams, muttering to himself in a language she couldn't understand. He's also reportedly received several mysterious packages, always unmarked, always delivered by a shadowy figure she couldn't identify. The coroner's report offered little comfort. The cause of death was listed as a single, precise puncture wound to the chest, seemingly inflicted by a slender, needle-like object. There were traces of an unknown substance in Thorne's system, something that didn't register on any standard toxicology screen. "The symbols on the pyramid, are they familiar, Peterson?" Corbin asked, tapping the photograph of the artifact. Peterson consulted his notes. "No, sir. I ran them through the department's database. Nothing. They don't match any known language or glyph system." Corbin felt a familiar prickle of unease. He's been a detective for 15 years, seen his share of gruesome crime scenes, but there was something about this case that transcended the mundane. The evidence pointed to a deliberate act, but the motive remained elusive. Thorne was a wealthy man, with no known enemies. Why would someone want him dead? Days turned into weeks, and the investigation hit a wall. The lab results came back inconclusive. The mysterious packages remained untraced. Mrs. Abernathy could offer nothing more than vague recollections of a shadowy figure. Peterson, increasingly frustrated, started suggesting the possibility of suicide, but Corbin refused to entertain it. Thorne seemed too driven, too consumed by his pursuits to simply give up. One evening, while re-examining the photographs of Thorne's study, Corbin noticed something he's missed before, a small, leather-bound journal tucked away on a bookshelf, partially obscured by other volumes. He opened it carefully, its pages brittle and yellowed with age. It was Thorne's personal diary. The entries revealed a descent into obsession. Thorne had become convinced that the obsidian pyramid was a key, a conduit to something ancient and powerful, something that existed beyond human comprehension. He's believed it held the secrets of a forgotten civilization, a race of beings who had mastered the art of manipulating reality itself. The final entries were the most disturbing. Thorne described a recurring dream, a vision of a vast, subterranean city bathed in an eerie fire of light. He wrote of voices, whispering promises of knowledge and power, but also warning of a terrible price. "The gate is opening," he's written in the last entry. "I can feel it. The veil is thinning. They are waiting." Corbin felt a chill run down his spine. He looked at Peterson, who was staring at the diary with a mixture of fascination and apprehension. "We need to check Thorne's property," Corbin said, his voice low. "Especially the land behind the mansion. He mentioned a hidden grotto in his notes." The rain had stopped, and a sliver of moon peeked through the clouds as they approached the rear of the mansion. The land sloped downwards, thick with overgrown vegetation. Following Thorne's directions from the diary, they discovered a concealed entrance leading to a narrow rocky passage. The air grew colder as they descended, the silence broken only by the dripping of water and the echo of their footsteps. The passage opened into a vast, subterranean cavern, illuminated by an unnatural, violet glow emanating from a large, circular opening in the far wall. The sight that greeted them defied explanation. A sprawling, subterranean city lay before them, its buildings crafted from an unknown, obsidian-like material. Strange symbols adorned the structures, matching those etched onto the pyramid. The air hummed with an unsettling energy. Standing in the city's central plaza were figures tall, slender and draped in shimmering robes. Their faces were obscured by elaborate masks, but Corbin could sense their cold, intelligent gaze fixed upon him. One of the figures raised a hand, and a voice echoed in Corbin's mind, not through his ears, but directly into his consciousness. Asterisk, you have found us. You are not meant to. Asterisk. Corbin tried to speak, to shout, but his voice wouldn't work. Peterson, beside him, was frozen, his eyes wide with terror. Asterisk, the gate is open. The return is inevitable. Asterisk, the voice continued. Asterisk, your world is no longer yours to protect. Asterisk. The violet light intensified, bathing the cavern in an ethereal glow. Corbin felt a searing pain in his head, a sense of his mind unraveling. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the city, moving with an unnatural grace. It was Thorne, or what remained of him. His eyes glowed with an eerie violet light, his face devoid of emotion. You shouldn't have come, Thorne said, his voice a distorted echo of its former self. He raised his hand, and Corbin felt a sharp, burning sensation in his chest. He stumbled backward, collapsing onto the cold, rocky floor. The last thing he saw before darkness enveloped him was the image of the obsidian pyramid, glowing with an unholy light, and the faces of the masked figures, observing him with detached curiosity. Peterson tried to intervene, firing his weapon, but the bullets seemed to dissipate harmlessly in the violet light. He felt an unseen force pushing him back, towards the entrance of the cavern. He stumbled out into the rain, gasping for air, his mind reeling from what he's witnessed. He knew he had to report what happened, but who would believe him? As he turned to re-enter the cavern, he saw a figure standing in the doorway, a shadowy silhouette shrouded in darkness. It raised a hand and pointed directly at Peterson. A cold voice echoed in his mind. Asterisk, you have seen too much. Asterisk. Peterson ran, not knowing if he was being pursued, or if he was already too late. The city in the depths remained, a silent promise of an end to the world above,